Hello everyone, welcome to DevOps Info. Today we are going to have a look at how to use continuous integration for your projects using GitHub Action Workflows. With GitHub Actions, we can use a pre-built workflow, create and test, for example, a Node.js project. We can utilize the GitHub Actions log to troubleshoot a failed test as well. To get better understanding, a basic familiarity with GitHub Actions and workflows is an advantage. Let's have a small summary on the continuous integration before we have a look into the GitHub Action Workflows. The continuous integration can be implemented for a code that is kept in GitHub repositories using a GitHub Actions. Because today we are going to focus only on the GitHub Action Workflows. So we are just going to focus on the continuous integration with a GitHub Action and Workflows. So every time a developer submits a change to a version control, a continuous integration uses automation to build and test the product. Continuous integration aids team in promptly identifying and resolving the issues that arise early in the development process. Continuous integration can help you stick to your team's quality standards by running tests and reporting results on the GitHub because the code which is developed is present in the GitHub repositories. So the team's quality standards can be maintained by running a test and then seeing the reporting results. Continuous integration tools run builds and test triggered by the commits. So, for example, when a developer commits from his branch, then we have the opportunity to run the test and see the reporting results. The results post back to the GitHub in the pull request. The goal is like fewer issues in the main branch and faster feedback as you work, and possibility to merge the module branches into the main source control in agile approach by releasing new features without delay. For example, let's talk about a software which has multiple modules and that has a dependency with multiple teams. So in that case, each and every team has the dependencies on their development phases and the release. So in that case, like each and every team can have their own branch and then commit their branch to the main. After that, all the tests and reporting results can be seen eventually by releasing the new features one by one and not waiting for all the updates to be completed, which will take a lot of time. Let's say, for example, you wish to develop a website for one of the supermarket. So your team is creating a website for one of the big supermarket that forecasts every item that will be available on a discounted price every week. So you want to make sure that the team can easily construct and test these many features that are being developed. For example, even the customer is requesting, I wanted to give a chat option in the website where the customers can reach the website through the chat and get their doubts clarified. So let's say if you have two different teams for this, you can, for instance, choose to utilize GitHub Actions for your continuous integration project if the project code is kept in the GitHub repository. So having talked about the summary of the GitHub action using workflow and the continuous integration, the question might come across, okay, how do I use GitHub action to create a workflow? So for example, if you see the screen what I have right now, like an example is like a workflow and that can have jobs, builds,
Now let's
steps,
see how
and
to use
also
GitHub
it can have
Actions to
something
create workflows for continuous
to
integration.
trigger. We'll
Continuous
have a look at
integration is
all of
a
them
YAML file.
shortly. We can create a workflow from a template. So, for example, when you go into a GitHub repository, and then you open any one of your repository, you have the actions, and in the action, when you navigate, there is an option to choose the workflow. If there is any existing workflow, you see them. If there is no any existing, then you have an option to go and create a new workflow. So now let me navigate to the GitHub repository. So this is the repository which I have, and I'm just going into one of the repository. and choosing actions. In the actions, I'm clicking on new workflow. In the new workflow, we have an option to configure a simple workflow. So here in our example, I'm just going to search for instance Node.js. Oh, it should be Node.js. Okay. So here I get the Node.js. I'm clicking on configure. So basically, when you click on configure, because as I said previously, the continuous integration is nothing but in GitHub it uses a YAML file for the workflow to run. So we can have a look at one of the example where I opened the Node.js YAML file from the templated workflow. When I open it, it it gives me Node.js.yaml file, and you see the uh, the files whatever it is present in them. So basically, if you see, it has the notice on attribute. This is the first one you see, or the type is Node.js. Of course, the name what we have given. It's not the type, the name what we have given. And the first one is like you notice the on attribute. This on attribute is like this workflow will be triggered on a push to the repository, as well as when a pull request is made against a main branch. Uh, there is one job in this workflow. Like for example, you see there is jobs. So the first thing is like, okay, what is the on attribute? This is the workflow will be getting triggered. You can trigger the workflow either with a push or a pull, and also you can also make a scheduled workflow. You can have a look at them on the GitHub. There are a lot of examples how to trigger a workflow in the GitHub. Uh, and the next one, you have the jobs. The job is like a kind of the workflow. So let's review in this example what the job does. So in the job, you have something called runs on. The runs on is like an attribute that specifies for the operating system in our case. So here the operating system, it is going to run on the latest version of the Ubuntu, and also you have an opportunity to give the version, the node version. You can specify uh, multiple versions. In this example, we have specified three versions. uh, we can have a look at the matrix portion later, but especially when you talk about the node version, is there is an option to specify it and then you can run. And after the runs on, you have something called steps. The steps is like something, it is in the job, which is used by the GitHub Actions for checking out to get the code from your repository into the VM. And the actions, if you see in our case, like for example, the steps, the first one is like the checkout version 3. So this is like to get the code from your repository into the VM. In our case, it is the VM running on the GitHub, and then the next consecutive one V2 will be to set up the right version of the Node.js. So we can also specify that we are going to test the two versions of Node.js. Like if you see at the top, we have three. It's not two. We have three versions of Node.js. So likewise you can specify multiple versions, or if you're going to do only one, then you can just simply leave it with one version and go with creating the YAML file. The last part of the step also executes the command used by the Node.js projects. For example, you see the npm CI. Basically, the npm CI will install the dependencies from the package log.json file, and npm build will build the script if it exists. And the npm test will be running the test framework. So, like the first one, npm CI is going to install the dependencies from the package, build is going to build, and the test is going to test. So this is the sample workflow, how a continuous integration is built in the GitHub action through the workflow. I think you will have a small overview of what is workflow in GitHub and how it is being created in the GitHub action through the workflow. For more information, you can also browse through the GitHub study materials and have a look at it. You will get more information on the same. Um, Having talked about this, Okay, so you are creating a workflow and running it. How you are going to see like what is the error message that has been executed, and how do I proceed with the identifying the solution. So for example, I go to one of my repository continuous integration. I have my actions, and in the actions, when I go and see, these are all the workflows. I have it in the action. So this is how you go and see the action logs for the build. So because in the previously we saw what is continuous integration, how YAML file is, and how it is built, and now we are going to see okay, how the action logs is generated. Because basically when a workflow runs, it produces a log that includes the details of what happened and what are the error messages or any test failures. If there is a error or a test, then you see them over the workflow files. For example, I came to my GitHub repository actions and all workflows. I see 14 workflows which I have run for my test cases. So for example, I just click on one of the workflow, which is X mark, because whatever you see on the green is successfully completed. There is no problem with the workflow. And the one with the red X mark is something problem in the YAML file, or yeah, any problem in the code. So I just opened it, the one with the red. So I just scroll down, it says annotation error. So when I click on, and also it gives me a message that's an invalid workflow file. So let's have a look at what is the annotation error and the invalid workflow file. So when I scroll down, you see on the line 32, it gives like GitHub action invalid workflow file. So which means like, okay, this YAML file, what I created is having error in the YAML syntax, and that's the reason I get this message. So by doing this, it definitely gives you a lot of information to see where your YAML file or the code is wrong. So yeah, so this is the example what I wanted to show you. And also there is an option you can customize the workflow templates. Okay, so here, for example, you have uh, the YAML file you're specifying runs on Ubuntu latest. You can also do a multiple entries here if you want to run it on Ubuntu latest, Mac OS, and Windows. Yes, you can add the multiple values. It is accepted, and then you can test them on the different environments. That's possible. And yes, so apart from that, there is a very good exercise which is given in the skill section in the GitHub. So you have a template which you can use and then follow them completely to see how the continuous integration can be implemented in the GitHub action workflows. I have tested this. This is what we have seen right now. So like for example, when you complete it, you just go to the GitHub and you see the workflow. You see like first the YAML file is created, a test workflow is created, and then fixing the test workflow, upload the test reports, and then add a branch protection, merge your pull request, and finally uh, create a master branch, which is the ci.yaml file. You can just follow this article, which is published in the skills continuous integration. It is straightforward and easy. You can uh, you can benefit out of it with the GitHub skills continuous integration. Hope you enjoyed this video. Feel free to subscribe more for getting more tips and tricks on Microsoft Cloud Platform. Thank you.